What's up, guys? It's Miracle CatCorelli, and this is episode 298 of my Cat Vibe series. Today I'm painting still one of the roses in this little garden, and that's a coral rose, a bigger one, and a smaller one. Nowadays, because I'm using tinted canvas, and I kind of mix pigment right into the gesso, and I'm using a neutral hue, kind of a brownish or reddish, depending on the pigment that I use. But, for the most part, it's either grayish or brownish or pinkish, which gives me the good sense of where the midtones will be. That allows me to jump right into painting, starting with the high key hues, like right now, when I just basically started with the brighter pink hue, and then immediately gave this little, added this little blob of darker crimson, alizarin crimson as far as I remember, instead of, laying out everything and then gradually coming to the subject matter, to the flower. So, I'm trying different things, and in some paintings I start with a sketch. Some paintings, like you've seen with the Watusi bull, for example, in the savannah, I've used a grid because I was using a reference photo as well. And then I painted in the landscape. I just made it up, and I made up the baobab in the end. Didn't use any reference for it, just looked at many baobabs and painted it. With the bull, it was more complicated. So I'm using different approaches for different paintings and different studies. In this case, you can see I'm layering in, blocking in wet paint and laying it in pretty thick with an older bright brush, which is rougher. So it gives this rather interesting texture. This bright brush, by the way, this nylon brush, is fairly worn as well. So it doesn't give even lines, but that's fine because I'm working on the background. So I don't need, this pristine, clean lines. I rather need a textured, rugged line, so to speak. And generally speaking, I think I like to switch between nylon and bristle a lot. And a bright brush is one of my favorites nowadays. I really love it. I'm blocking the colors and blocking the composition simultaneously. So I know that it probably wouldn't work on a larger painting because you gotta cover a large area fast with a lot of paint. And it's just a different process. Here in this little study, roughly 8 by 10 inches, I have a small enough area to operate, so that allows me to quickly blend and block in and sketch out and try and mix in certain things and then redo certain things and then blur the edges and smear the edges or sharpen the edges and do all of those things basically in one sitting very quickly while it is still wet. But, it doesn't quite work with larger painting. And that's the beauty of these small little paintings, and that's why I like actually painting small stuff like this occasionally, but not exclusively, because just painting small little paintings, I think I'm getting tired of that at some point. I paint a little series, like 6 to 10 little small paintings, 3, maybe 5 or something like this, and then I like to switch the gears and paint something bigger, and then go back to smaller again. I think it works. And I think it, for me personally, it helps to rediscover things in the context of different areas. It's one thing to paint a small little study. There is a feeling to it. Things are faster. things work faster. It's a different speed of painting. And it's a different thing when you go for a larger format, like something around, I don't know, 17 by 20 inches or 19 by 27, something to that effect. That feels different. It's not just about the speed of painting and about there is a larger area of coverage, but also it is there's more space. It means that details are going to behave in a different way, and it means that attention to those details is going to be distributed in a different fashion. But with small paintings, there is this charm about them. They can be loose, there can be just a small cluster of details in the focal point, and everything else can just be loose. Or not necessarily, it kind of depends. In this painting too, I've mixed in with Gamblin, our artist grid, oil colors, and Utrecht. I've mixed in some Gapka oil paint, a neon oil paint, and I've used it with magenta, I believe. Some neon magenta went into this painting. And I was mixing it with some alizarin crimson and some pink and rose madder from Gamblin, a whole variety of reds and roses and pinks that went into this painting, a little bit of violet hue, and because it's quite a tender flower, so it required a subtle approach. All in all, it was a pleasure painting this. Oh, there is some neon orange that went into that rose, because I believe there was another little flower in the back which had to be highlighted, and those little flowers as well. And by the way, right there you can see my reference photo pinned to the easel. And this is something that I do. I do this thumbnail sized, basically, 4 by 3 inch, or 5 by 6, I don't remember, I believe 4 by 3 little photographs. I print them out on photo paper and use them for such studies, as opposed to using a tablet, because sometimes I'm using a tablet nowadays. I used to use my phone, my old phone, just kept it on all the time and set the screen timeout to never. And but a phone, it has this gloss. When you're working with a lamp, you have these lights, and there's just this glossy reflection off of the surface of the phone, which just screws everything up. So nowadays I'm occasionally using just photos, and sometimes I'm using a tablet for reference. And following the advice of some seasoned painters, I'm simplifying the composition, and I'm taking away everything that is overcomplicating the composition, everything I don't want to be there. There's the finished work. Here's another little study. And with that being said, you'll hear me next time. Ciao.